Hello everybody, today we're going to talk about racism and criminal justice and how this problem affects people who suffer it. MAFA is the beginning of many injustices. Racism has been one of the most common social problems in centuries. It mainly begins in 16th through 19th century with the transatlantic slave trade MAFA, when people from West and Central Africa who have been sold to slave traders who brought them to Americas to do labors such as working on sugar and cotton plantations, rice fields, coffee, and other commodities. This is only the origin of racism. Nowadays in society, racism affects more health than other areas. This is because racism is a significant psychosocial stressor that is hypothesized to have negative psychological and physical health consequences. Racism has been defined as the beliefs, attitudes, institutional arrangements, and acts that tend to denigrate individuals or groups because of phenotypic characteristics or ethnic group affiliation, by Clark Anderson, Clark, and Williams in 1999. Now, in Mexico, majority of the people is incited to racism because it goes aside from classism. It goes also from discrimination in common parts to entertainment industry. For example, last year, Yalitza Aparicio debuted as an actress. She received a lot of critics just because of the fact that she was worldwide recognized while she was an indigenous woman.
For the research of racism in Mexico, my techniques are participant observation. By my personal experience, I've learned that racism is thing in Montreal despite your skin color. Often many Morens and white regios have the thought that they should end up marrying a white person to improve their race. For example, is the use of the word prieto as an offense to dark-skinned Mexicans. In my personal experience, racism is a whole Hispanic social problem because I have experienced discrimination from Spanish people to Mexicans. So I think this issue comes a long way back from centuries ago. The subjects of social work practice: clients, communities, families, groups, and organizations exist in the real time and in open systems where the social workers is faced with the immediacy of the present. Much of what matters to our clients is how we come to know them in their natural settings or life context: social class, family, gender, ethnicity, neighborhood, and sexual orientation. Each client represents a particular case, and it is never the social worker confronts a client. By stories the Morenos, part of the family, have told me, I've learned that my sisters have experienced the same I have: internalized racism. For racism in USA, I'm gathering information by internet research. What I saw throughout my whole life in the news, testimony, and participant observation. My testimony: one of my friends is from Houston. She is white, daughter of Mexican father and American mom. She have told me about that people is still racist. Sometimes even her family often signalize a person for being black or Moreno. Participant observation. I think my point of view and my experience is not the same what black people living in the United States have experienced. We'll begin being in Texas. I've been discriminated, so I can uphold the fact that racism still exists in USA. Some techniques is this article outlines the contribution that ethnography could make to process evaluations for trials of complex health behavior interventions. Process evaluations are increasingly used to examine how health behavior interventions operate to produce outcomes and often employ qualitative methods to do this. Ethnography shares commonalities with the qualitative methods currently used in health behavior evaluations, but has a distinctive approach over and above these methods. It is an overlooked methodology in trials of complex health behavior interventions that has much of contribute to the understanding of how interventions work. These benefits are discussed here with respect to three strengths of the ethnographic methodology. The one is producing valid data, the two, understanding data with social context, and three, building theory productively. The limitations of ethnography within the context of process evaluations are also discussed.
Some of the main causes of racism here are living in a clean society, not receiving the right education, lack of decent inclusion on the entertainment industry, or inaccurate inclusion of minorities. Also, not giving financial aid to minorities. I could say some of these are caused from way back ages ago, when Spanish troops conquered the Aztec Empire, because before that happened, there was only one race in the land, indigenous. So when the Spanish arrived in the territory, they brought up thoughts of judgment and supremacy, since it was in the same period of time that Spain was carrying out slave trade of African people.
We didn't have any problems during the ethnographic research, but it was a hard thing to see the reality of the war. In my opinion, this is a very serious problem that should not longer exist and that we must solve it because it can cause serious problems such as depression that can cause even a person's life.
Okay, my opinion is that I want to review some aspects of the current state of ethnography. Focus on areas of tension and conflict. Will the selection of issues, and especially the comments made about them, reflect my own commitments? The problems identified are common ones. Their importance will be hard to deny, even though there is little consensus about how to deal with them.
In my personal opinion, I think that racism is caused because of the people that is ignorant and don't know about other cultures or they just don't respect them. As my team worker Dina said, it is a bad thing and mostly for your health.
My personal opinion is that racism is a bad belief that has been built through ages, and people need to take action on it. Politicians need to take action, but most important, to teach our future generations about respect, equity, and unity.
Thank you so much for watching and hope you got something from this subject.